The Monster Below by Greenback, read by Deathlight, Chapter 23, The Boiling Point. I flew across Manhattan as if in a dream, doing loops and twirls as if I weighed nothing at all. The photographers pursued me, but I easily outraced them. Soon, they were out of sight as I headed towards Manhattan's western side. There, I found numerous abandoned factories and warehouses, victims of recent turndown in manufacturing. Heading to one of the smaller buildings, I flew inside and took a look around. The place has plenty of rooms to hide in, along with larger manufacturing areas where I can practice my new magic skills. I clapped my hooves. This was perfect. Draping wood and pieces of cloth over the windows, I boarded up my hiding place. The next logical step would be to get some sleep and let my body rest. But I wanted to do magic. Should I try transformation, divination, teleporting? So many possibilities, but I couldn't get ahead of myself. Best start with the basics, like levitation and stunning blasts. I'm practically bouncing as I gathered random objects and started levitating them with my magic. The process is much like what I did to escape from Metacomp. Focusing on what I want, hold that thought, and release. Pieces of wood are a singe, so are chairs, benches, and light appliances. But when I tried lifting an engine, I found that there's quite a difference in between a 2x4 and a hunk of machinery my size. I concentrated harder, but only managed to make the thing wobble and shake. It's only after a few attempts I managed to lift it an inch off the ground. But it soon crashes back down, leaving me drenched in sweat. This might be a little trickier than I imagined. For the next hour, I worked on trying to lift that engine even higher. My enthusiasm kept me going no matter how many times it crashed to the floor. Until I finally managed to lift it about a foot off the ground. Yesterday, I was an earth pony, and now I can lift objects with nothing but the power of my mind. After a short rest, I decided to try stunning blasts. There's no doubt others are going to try and stop me, and I needed to defend myself. My target is a piece of wood, with my imagination turning into one of Magus' bodyguards, specifically, the one who tried to keep me from getting my horn. I focused on a blast of energy that would knock him out and unleashed it, only for the wood to wobble a little. Oh dear. I kept practicing, hitting the plank again and again. But it takes half an hour before I knocked it over. I was able to blast through a steel wall at Metacomp. A piece of wood shouldn't be a problem. Perhaps I'm pushing myself too hard. After all, I was on the verge of death only a few hours ago, and casting spells is emotionally exhausting. Perhaps I should rest and try again tomorrow. I do a quick check to make sure the warehouse is properly boarded up before retreating to an old office on the lower floor, where I gathered all the cushions I could find and arranged them in an impromptu bed. And as I lay down and drift off, I quietly thank whatever force, being, or cosmic entity guiding me to this, the greatest day of my life. When I awoke, I sensed the long time had passed. With no clocks or windows around, I'm not sure how much. But peeking through the floor to the ocean below shows the water lit by mid-morning sun. The effect of casting spells must have taken more out of me than I thought. But I feel fantastic and full of energy. In fact, that might have been the most restful night of sleep I ever had. And if I'm still here, that means the police don't know where I am. Two great pieces of news, and it's only the first few minutes of the day. I leapt my hooves and stretched, delighted to find my wings and horn less sore than I feared. A check in a mirror shows some minor red spots around the stitches on my wings, but I otherwise looked okay. Skating up the stairs, I wondered what the outside world was like. No doubt, news of me had leaked out by now. Are ponies afraid of me, amazed? I need to find out. Sneaking outside, I made my way along the abandoned waterfront and found a trash can near one of the streets, where a newspaper half pokes out underneath the lid. Waiting until no one's in sight, I focused on the newspaper, visualizing it rushing towards me. Sure enough, it zips right out of the trash and into my waiting hooves. After stifling my giggles, I dash back to the warehouse. Me, actually doing magic! Once inside, I open the paper. Sure enough, I dominate the front page, with the headline screaming, Medicom spokespony becomes an alicorn. Beneath are photos from the security cameras, and a few blurry ones from the photographers I posed for. I sighed, grateful I didn't publish photos of me soaked in blood or screaming in agony. Now, what does the article itself say? Let's see, well, it's what I would have expected. Silverspeak enters Medicom, seeming sane, but then proceeds to steal the horn and wings, running past guards, essentially attaching said horn and wings to himself. Breaks out and goes missing. Nothing too sensational there, but the fallout from the act was surprising. Medicom held an emergency press conference last night, telling the public I have a mental imbalance, and because of that, I may be dangerous to both myself and others. Flinching, I notice there's a public safety notice on the front page from the Manhattan's police department, warning that I'm not to be approached or engaged in any way, and that citizens should alert the police if I am seen. Putting the paper aside, it seems no matter what I do, everyone automatically assumes I'm going to use my powers to become some sort of tyrannical god or slave driver like King Sombra. Has the thought crossed nobody's mind that I might want to do good? Apparently not, but maybe they haven't had the chance to see that for themselves. Wait, of course, I need to show them that I'm not to be feared. And to do so, I need to head out and do some good. That's what my original plan was, after all. If I keep it up long enough and ignore the naysayers, then everyone will see that there's nothing scary about me. The authorities will no doubt swarm after me like bees to honey, but they'll have to back down after public opinion turns in my favor. But if any of that's to happen, I need to head out there. After all, I wouldn't convince the public I'm a good guy by hiding in the shadows. I left the warehouse a short time later and gone through the nearby buildings in search of clothing. I found an old coat and hat inside some lockers that help disguise who I am. With my disguise ready, I fly to a nearby roof and test out my wings. A few practice flaps, then I flew into the concrete jungle of Manhattan, feeling like the mysterious Mary-Well on her first night fighting crime. Much like how Princess Celestia is there to watch all over Equestria. Now I'm here for all those who need my help. But unlike heroes in comic books and films, I do not have the fabled sixth sense that directs me towards crime. In fact, for my first hour of flight, nothing happened at all as I cruised among the skies. It's actually quite boring until the silence is broken by a shriek of terror. I darted towards the sound. At last, someone I can help. Mommy! A child's voice wailed. My balloon! Wait, a balloon? That's it? Well, heroes have to start somewhere, I guess. I see a green balloon flying away to the sky. I could catch it easily enough with magic, but instead, I cut it with my teeth and headed to the street, where the young Colt and his mother are watching. The Colt claps, overjoyed at seeing his balloon returned. Thank you, the mother said as I touched down. You have no idea how much you wanted. She stops, looks me over, freezes. While my disguise helps me hide from a distance. Even an ordinary pony can see through it close up. And the mother realized who I am. You're Silverspeak. I released a string, holding it with magic. Indeed I am. Now, here's your... The mother leaps in front of her child. Get away from us! She shrieks. Wait, I'm not trying to. Grabbing her Colt and the mother runs off. Hey, wait! But the two have already vanished into the crowd, leaving me with the balloon. Other ponies, having heard the commotion, recognize me, and they scramble back in fear. Well, that didn't work out. I fly away and headed towards the eastern side of Manhattan, hoping for better luck. Sure enough, it wasn't long before I reached an intersection crammed with traffic, and I couldn't believe this. A little old mare unable to cross the streets. Swooping down, while I could land and ask if the mare needed help to cross the streets. Using my magic will leave a bigger impression on passerbys. I focus on lifting her up, and she does so. Like any old mare, she hollers as she's lifted over passing carriages. But while she was lighter than the engine in the factory, keep my attention while both flying and floating her was harder than I thought. I falter and she almost falls, but I regain my hold, managing to get her safely across and down onto the streets. I did it! I swooped down, grinning ear to ear. "You alright, ma'am?"
You did that?
She asked. I nodded, proud of myself. The mare smacked me with her purse.
You almost gave me a heart attack. How am I gonna get back over there before my grandson comes looking for me?
Another smack, and she starts off down the street.
And don't bother asking if you can help.
Nearby pedestrians looked on. I flew off before they could identify me, grumbling as I did so. Still, can't get too upset, it's only my first day. More opportunities will present themselves. I only go a few blocks before an unforeseen problem presents itself. I've been so caught up with everything, it happens that I've forgotten to eat. My apartment has food, but there's bound to be police officers there, waiting for me to show myself. Going to the bank to get funds was out of the question. My stomach growls, impatient for food. There's a soup kitchen in the city's eastern quarter. My skies would probably allow me to eat a meal before being recognized. It didn't take long to reach the kitchen. It was already packed with ponies, wanting shelter from the cold and rain. I had the ability. I'd materialize an umbrella for them. But I'll settle for joining them, making sure to tuck my wings away and pull the cap down tightly over my brow. Nobody pays me a second glance as I get inside and take a bowl of warm soup, bread, and an apple. Taking a seat in one of the booths, I eat fast, not waiting any longer than necessary. If someone recognized me, things could get out of hand really quickly. The food was good. I'd love to get seconds, but I didn't want to be greedy. So many others were less fortunate than I am, and I didn't want to take away any.
Come on, you're pulling my leg.
No, really, I swear it's the truth. I tried to ignore the ponies in the next booth, despite how loud they were. No way you can know anything like that. But I'm telling you the truth, things are bad out there, really bad. Cops are coming every inch of the island looking for that silver speak fellow. My buddy Gokov says the cops came by the library last night to see if he'd gone there. And Gokov says he overheard a few officers saying that the princesses are getting involved. I stopped in mid-bite. Bull! Hey, you think they're gonna just sit around and do nothing while some nutcase goes around turning himself into one of them? There's a rumor that they sent out the bears to look for this guy, and that they're gonna come themselves. I still say that's a lot of bull. No cop worth his salt lick would slip information like that. Well, Gokov's got a lot of friends on the force, and this sort of thing doesn't just happen every day, you know. And then there's those Guardian nut jobs.
Guardians?
Yeah, that weirdo group coming out here tonight.
You suggesting we pack up and leave?
Heck yeah, there's no way the Silver Speak guy is gonna go peacefully. He's gonna go down fighting and take half of Manhattan with him. The pony bums and the stench of hard cider fills the air.
I still say that's a load of bull.
I could barely keep from throwing up as I got out of the chair and headed to the bathroom. Slamming the door shut, I leaped through the window into an alley and took off, trying to put as much distance between me and the building as possible. The princess is coming here? No way, that's not possible. But if they dispatch the bearers, that means they think I'm a threat. Celestia. Princess Celestia thinks I'm a threat. I landed on the nearest roof, grabbed my head, and focused on my breathing. Calm down, Silver Speed. That pony was a drunk. He's probably delusional, making things up to impress his friend. That's all. Yes, that's it. He's just some drunk, trying to get his throat for the day. Still, he's probably right about one thing. The cops are swarming all over the city. Those good deeds will have to wait. I need to get out of Manhattan and lay low for a while. I make it back to the warehouse without a problem, but another one soon manifests itself. There's a commotion on the streets beyond the warehouse. Flying to the uppermost window to investigate, I peer out the tattered curtain to see a horde of carriages crossing into Manhattan. There's hundreds of them, and hundreds more ponies riding inside. Are these those guardians the drunk pony was talking about? I wanted to head out and take a look, but there's too many eyes. And all it will take is one to spot me to set off the alarm. I retreated downstairs and back into the darkness, but it offered no comfort. I have the awful feeling those carriages are coming for me. When dawn breaks the following morning, I'm quick to get a copy of the paper, dreading on what I'll find. My fears are justified as headlines screamed about my rampage across Manhattan, attacking everyone I found, and even breaking into the library. What the Tartarus! I read about how I've been sighted all over Manhattan and attacking members of the public, including trying to lure a young colt away from his mother, tormenting the old mare by threatening to drop her into traffic, even trying to suck the life force out of the old pony, only to be stopped by the last moment by heroic onlookers. But I have to find out what's going on with regards to the other break-in at the library. Reading the article, I learned that some pony had broken in last night, bursting their way into the forbidden section, where they stole several books and escaped. And while the intruder wasn't identified, the police had no doubt of who it was, due to the detective using magic to attack the guards and on-site police officers. And I further concluded that I was very likely the one who had broken into the library before, due to the thief's outfit being almost identical in both cases. In light of that, and the assault on the public, the police feared I'd become some sort of vampire who needed to feed off the life force of others to survive, and were warning ponies to stay inside after dark. Patrols are going to be stepped up, and Carol issued a statement that, due to the severity of the problem, the capital had dispatched a special task force to deal with the issue. A special task force? Does that mean the drunk pony was actually right? I gulp, continue reading, that the police haven't commented on rumors that the princesses themselves are coming to Manhattan, calling such quotes as the raving of a frightened public. There's more, but I couldn't read it, and tossed the paper away. My breathing was going so fast, I had to spend several minutes to bring it back down, but I couldn't stop my heart from hammering against my ribs. This couldn't be happening. How in a question could the papers get it so wrong? Then again, the only thing they're interested in is selling as many papers as possible. What better way to do so than by scaring the public out of their wits? But then there's the break-in. No doubt as the result of some misguided lunatic wanting to bring me down by smearing my name, and by impersonating me, hopefully stepping out the police presence to bring me down even faster. No doubt that'll do the trick, and heaven only knows what the librarian is going to do. I consider myself a resourceful pony, one who can, given enough time, bend almost anyone to my will. But this is beyond my ability to fix. All my efforts to do good is being misinterpreted. The papers are sensationalist propaganda. And now this impersonator, I can't repair this all myself. Even if I were to go before the public and give a statement and take questions, that would no doubt be twisted as well. And this is all on a scale far beyond a few ponies, or a company, or even a city. News is gonna spread across Equestria, and no amount of sweet talking will fix that. I close my eyes, taking deep, slow breaths as I ponder what to do. Wait, perhaps I don't have to sweet talk anymore. There might be a way to fix this. It'll be difficult to get to them. But if I can somehow reach the real palace in Canterlot, I could talk to the only ones in all of Equestria who might understand me. There's no way Princess Celestia and Princess Luna are swayed by the tabloid headlines, sensationalist drivel, and the fear of the common folk. They can't see reason. The fear begins to fade, replaced by hope. That's it. I need to make my way to Canterlot and talk to the princesses. They'll know what to do. With a new sense of purpose, I leapt to action. I spent the rest of the morning going through lockers and break rooms and all the warehouses and factories in search of food. I managed to gather a few cans of edible goods, and I figured I could salvage while en route to Canterlot. I might be living exclusively on berries and whatever edible vegetables I can find, but it'll keep me alive. When my food is gathered up, I took a look outside. I could leave now, but there's far too many eyes about. And a lone pony flying away from Manhattan will look suspicious in these paranoid times. No, I have to wait until night, when the storm is scheduled to be at its peak. And the rain and lightning will help cover up my escape. But despite that time being far off, I couldn't just sit around and worry about how many ways this plan could fail. I decided to practice my magic, wanting to get better at shooting off the stunning bolts. For it's very likely I have to use them on my journey. So once again I set up my targets and start firing, but it's just as difficult as last time. And I couldn't help but grumble. Unicorns have a lifetime to practice doing their spells. By the time they're my age, they can send them off without a second thought. But as I keep trying to blast those pieces of wood, I discovered a little trick that helps me out quite a bit. I pretended I'm firing at Mangus, imagining that each successful shot sees him being knocked unconscious. It gets even more easier when I pretend he's laughing at me, imagining each shot is blasting that smug, self-satisfied grin off his face. A few hours after I started, I could fire off stunning blasts after a few seconds of concentration. Not as good as I wanted, but it's still better than when it took half a minute to fire one off. And I have Mangus to thank for that. As mid-afternoon rolls around, I blast one piece of wood to splinters and decided to take a break. The whole business of pretending to shoot Mangus in the face again and again wasn't exactly the most uplifting activity. Enjoyable, yes, but it leaves a sour feeling in me afterwards. While I should focus on being able to defend myself, I also shouldn't forget the reason I'm making the journey in the first place. Going to the saddlebags, I pulled one open and pulled out little Celestia, holding her in my hooves. She looks up at me with the ever-present smile, and I feel the tension falling away. If this miniature has that type of effect on me, I muse then what the real Celestia would be like. Patient, I hope, and understanding. Things have gone so far south of what I wanted, surely she'd understand why I'd done all this. None of those ponies out there understand, but Celestia, she will. Looking down, I reach out and stroke her little mane, allowing myself to pretend this is the real Celestia, and that she was blessing me with a safe journey. Even now, I imagined her warm, soothing voice. "Attention, Silverspeak." I froze. It's the police. But that's impossible. How? How could they find my hiding place? "Attention, Silverspeak. This is the Manhattan Police Department. Despite your recent actions and assaults, it has been brought to our attention that the Royal Sisters have arrived in Manhattan and wish to speak with you to prevent any further violence and bloodshed. They are waiting for you in the main lobby of the Manhattan Library, and have ordered that you come to the library unarmed and in peace. You will not be attacked or assaulted." What? The voice passed overhead, then repeated itself several blocks away. The police, it seems, are sending couriers all over the city, broadcasting the message in hopes I'll hear it. I have, but it sounds too good to be true. The princesses themselves, here in Manhattan, and they want to talk to me? No, this couldn't be true. This has to be a trick. The police want to lure me out and arrest me. Perhaps they're sensing if I flee Manhattan, they'll never catch me, and it'll be a public relations disaster. And besides, my parents and Breedbreaker know how much I adore Celestia. They could easily use that information against me and set up a trap. Then again, it could be real. After all, the drunk mentioned that the bearers of the Elements of Harmony were being sent out. And the paper confirmed that Catalina dispatched the squad to Manhattan. And these guardians, well, I couldn't confirm that they were the ones who crossed the bridge yesterday. For all I knew, those were congoers here for a convention. So we've gotten 1 out of 3 right. Nowhere near good enough to go on. Sorry police, but your trap isn't gonna fool me. As the late afternoon rolls in, the storm grows darker. It's not raining yet, but it looks like there'll be a huge downpour with the setting of the sun. It'll be miserable going through all that rain. but if it covers my escape, I can deal with it. I continue practicing my magic, but this time I focus on levitation, trying to make the engine go up faster and higher, but with little luck. Giving up on that, I turn to healing magic, trying again and again to make it come sooner, only to meet with more defeats. My efforts came to an abrupt end when a commotion reached my ears. It's not only close by, but surprisingly loud. Curious, I head to the top of the warehouse and peered outside. From my vantage point, I can see an incredible number of ponies heading down to an intersection several blocks away. Even from here, I can see banners and flags being waved. If I didn't know any better, I'd say there's a parade of some sort going on. Wait, those ponies crossing the bridge last night. These have something to do with them, I'm sure of it. Are they holding a rally or some other similar event? Logic dictates I should remain hidden and not risk being spotted. But something this size doesn't happen every day. And my curiosity is far too great, especially if these are the guardians the drunk was talking about. Gathering up my clothes, I disguised myself, then headed out and flew to the top of the nearby building. From here I watched the crowds, not quite believing what I was seeing. There are hordes of ponies making their way to the northern business district. Exactly how many there are, I can't tell, but there has to be tens of thousands. From here, they resemble the largest swarm of ants to be found in nature. Unstoppable, focused, and shoved everything aside in their single-minded quest, whatever it may be. I should probably head back to the warehouse and wait for night to fall, but I want to see who these ponies are. Moving from one rooftop to another, I followed the group. They just didn't stop, making their way through intersection after intersection, ignoring carriages and the massive traffic jams they were creating. But eventually they reached their destination, and I wasn't really surprised at the Metacomp HQ. If these are the Guardians, it is clear they wanted to send a message. No doubt about the evils of Metacomp. And what better place to do so than the very building where all these evils have been created. I hop from within nearby buildings, surveying the plaza below. From the looks of things, the company planned for all this, as there were security guards everywhere, backed up by hundreds of police officers. All standing guard as ponies poured into the plaza, gathering before a large stage that's been set up. It reminds me of the stage when I was first introduced to the world at large. There are reporters down there as well, no doubt drooling at the prospect of a huge clash, even if they had no idea what the clash may be. Staying low, I watch as the crowd continues to pour in. When the plaza is full, thousands of other ponies spread out into the alleys, planters, fountains, anywhere they can stand. Nobody wants to be left out of this event, even when the place is crammed beyond capacity. Magical screens are projected over the street's landing into the plaza, so that those back there can watch what's going on. Manhattan's great clock rings, and that's apparently the start to whatever this event may be. But the Metacomp CEOs came on stage. He looks more tired than the last time I saw him, and perhaps a few years older as well. "Thank you all for coming," he says. "Before we begin, I would like to remind you, those who do not agree with the company's policies, please remain respectful and behave during this debate. We will do our best to accommodate you, but I implore you to remain peaceful, regardless of how strongly you feel about the issues we will discuss here today." The crowd murmurs, but to their credit, they are far more behaved than I would have imagined. "I would like to ask that your leader of this organization please come forward, so that he or she may act as the leader on your side." There is movement near the front of the crowd, and the pony comes forward. I squint, trying to see who it is. "Thank you for your kind greeting," the leader says, and my heart nearly stops. I know that voice. It's the heckler from Satalanka. "Then I want to thank you all for coming here for the question's hour of need." The crowd cheers. The heckler waits for a moment before speaking again, enjoying the attention. "You know, a month ago, I faced a pony known as Silverspeak. I challenged him and pointed out the flaws against his argument of everyone being able to get wings. In fact, when I told the truth, he got angry. He tried to attack me. That proves he knew what he was doing was wrong, but he was too proud and arrogant to admit it. But I knew to embarrass him wasn't enough. No, he's just a symptom of the tumor that infects Equestria. More cheers. So I decided that all of us who love and treasure our beautiful country needed to come to the heart of the enemy and tell them no more. I looked for those who wanted to save our country, and collectively we made the choice to come down here as one to stop this. And we would call ourselves the Guardians of Tradition. Like a grey storm, the crowd goes wild, cheering and screaming and waving their banners. Unlike the ponies who had no problems at seeing this great land fall, we won't stand idly by. We have come here to tell the world that we will not allow our homes and our way of life to be torn asunder. The crowd roars. We are the ones willing to stand up to the sickness. You all have heard what Medicom's prize pony Silverspeak had done over the past few days. He claims to be setting the way towards the future, but what has he really done? Gone out and attacked innocent ponies. I started to shake. The heckler looks to the sky. Silverspeak, hear me. Does the leader of Equestria's brave new path go around attacking our children? If you are leading us into the future, why hide in the dark? Why dress in rags to disguise yourself? The crowd roars. If you hear me, then show yourself. Come down and meet me. Let us debate like civilized ponies and settle our differences once and for all. He pauses, chuckles. But then again, you might not want to. After all, look at all those who oppose you. Pegasus ponies, unicorn ponies, even your fellow earth ponies who came from all corners of Equestria to tell you how they feel. He points to the crowd. Tell me, do you think Silverspeak is right? Thousands of voices answered as one. No! Do you think he's the leader of the brave new world? No! Then you agree, we're here to send a message to Silverspeak and to Medicomp. It's time for the surrender to end. It's time you surrender to the weight of Equestria and leave this path of sacrilege and blasphemy. The crowd roars like thunder, the voices matching the building storm above. Face me, Silverspeak! The heckler screams, spreading his legs. Come out and face me! I chuckled. Does this idiot really think I'm so stupid to come out and actually face him? Why engage in his little games when I can go and talk to the princesses, who are no doubt more reasonable and have far more power to influence the public opinion? If they were to approve of what I'm doing, then the heckler won't be able to change Equestria's mind. So in the meantime, I look to the roof and let the heckler look into the skies, waiting for a challenge that won't come. Well then, he says after a few moments, I guess it's too much of a coward to come and face Equestria's collective justice. He chuckles. No matter, we can still do this without him, isn't that right? Laughter. Taking a seat, the heckler listens while the CEO comes forward and begins talking about the virtues of the wings. Without a speechwriter though, his words weren't quite as convincing as they could be. I watched as the CEO talks, then a few Medicomp scientists. For the most part, the Guardians of Tradition were quiet, though there were chuckles and the occasional boo as the company tried to explain that what I'm doing is a result of my own actions, and not as a result of the implants themselves. But when several speakers from the crowd came forward, I realized something. Where were those who supported Medicomp and the Wings? Why don't they have crowds there? If a group this big is gonna come to Manhattan, wouldn't the opposition work to organize an equally large show of force? Something didn't feel right about this, and the longer the talks went on, it was clear that this was completely one-sided. Medicomp is trying their best, but there was just a dozen or so of them against thousands of protesters. And I know some of those ponies at Medicomp. They're ones who worked with me, who helped me recuperate, who ate with me at the cafeteria. They don't deserve to be heckled like this and see their arguments utterly destroyed. The news will carry this story, and Equestria will see it as a failure for Medicomp and the Wings in general. I couldn't leave without doing something. It may be stupid going down there into the hornet's nest where guards, cops, and thousands who didn't like me awaited, but I have to try. Perhaps if I can appeal to the crowd and somehow manage to sway them to my side, that may turn the tide. I looked around, spotted an empty apartment building nearby. Going over, I peer inside to see it was abandoned. Probably from a tenant who couldn't make their rent and had to get out fast before the landlord came by. But their haste to leave also left plenty of clothing behind. I flew inside, gathered up the clothing. I picked whatever will help me disguise who I am until the last second. Putting them on, I then flew to the roof and looked down, trying to figure out how to get down there. A sudden appearance on stage would likely cause a panic. No, I have to be a little more subtle than that. So that I'm not interested in being flashy or showing off to the heckler. Flying down to the alley, I land among several of the protesters, shoved my way through, ignoring their angry protests. Entering the plaza, I made my way towards the stage. No pony seems to notice me as I push my way through the crowd. All eyes on the stage, where the Medicom CEO was making his final statements. Please rest assured, we have learned from our mistakes. And we're gonna make it so no other pony can ever again get the wings and horns as Silverspeak did. The heckler was convinced. Well, I hope so, buddy. But tell me, isn't it true that Medicom's financial situation has become pretty dire? The CEO is confused at the sudden turn in topics. I'm not at the liberty to say. Did you hear that, folks? He doesn't want to talk about the financial situation of his company. I'll tell you why, good ponies in this land won't want to be associated with a company that's gonna ruin our way of life. So they're gonna back off and withdraw their bids, as any good pony should do. Heed my word, it won't be long before Medicom comes crashing down. Thanks to folks like you and me. The crowd laughs, cheers, and drowns out the CEO's attempts to say something. Besides, what type of culture does a company have when their own employees resort to theft? A company that doesn't sound very ethical to me at all. The CEO moves to speak, but he's stopped as someone else moves forward, B-Breaker. I froze. I didn't expect to see her there. But that's not why I stopped. The B-Breaker before me is one I didn't recognize. Her face is covered in a deep set of wrinkles, and thick bags beneath her bloodshot eyes. Her mane is filthy and unkempt. She seems to have aged more than the CEO has. But worst is the absence of her sweet smile. There's no sign of it was ever there. The skin around her jaw now shaped into a steady frown. My heart tightens up, and I find it hard to breathe. Sweet Celestia, what happened to her? Did I turn her into that? B-Breaker goes to the podium and clears her throat. My name is B-Breaker, she says, her voice drained. I'm out of Medicom's research and division department, and I'm the one who created the prosthetic legs and wings. The crowd goes silent, curious as to what was going on. And what did you come to talk to us, Miss B-Breaker? Silverspeak's actions did not cause any of Medicom's products, including my wings. What he did was the result of an obsessive personality that wanted things beyond his reach. In a way, I consider myself responsible for what he has done. I allowed him to get the wings, I allowed him to focus on dreams, on getting the horn as well. So, what you're saying is that you're the one responsible for the plague sweeping our great nation? My blood boils, and I shove my way through the crowd. No, I didn't say that. But you implied it, didn't you? If it wasn't for you, he would have never become the freak that he is. And divided this country so radically, isn't that true? B-Breaker hesitates, unsure of how to answer. I suppose so, in a way. You heard it. You heard it right here, Mason Genitals. Oh, this great tragedy of us has so many players, but now the blame should fall upon her. For B-Breaker, more than anyone else, is the one who blasphemed against us all, and is responsible for what happened in our great nation. I can't take any more, and shout out with all my might. That's a lie! The crowd around me spins and gasps and back away as I throw off my disguise. From the stage, B-Breaker and the CEO spot me, and their eyes go wide in shock and surprise. Even the heckler is momentarily taken aback by my sudden appearance inside the heart of his army. Perhaps fearing that if I could appear out of nowhere, then what other powers do I have? The crowd parts before me as I head onto the stage. Reaching it, I climb up the stairs, bouncing out the cops and guards who were ready to leap forward. As I come up the stairs, the radio of nearby cops squawks to life. I hear something about confirmation that they were inbound. Well, look who showed up. The heckler says with a chuckle. The rat finally emerges from the burrow. I look past into B-Breaker, who's backing up like the others. And for a moment, I wanted nothing more than to talk to her. To forget about the hecklers and all this madness. But several guards usher her away, and the opportunity is lost. Don't worry, officers. There's no need to arrest our friend just yet. Let him speak. After all, this is a debate where both sides of an issue can be heard. Isn't that right? The crowd cheers, though still nervous. They're eager to see their champion and hero go toe-to-toe with me. And though I'm stung by Beatbreaker's sudden departure, my anger towards the heckler hasn't dimmed. If the crowd wants a verbal beatdown, I'll be happy to oblige them. I head to the podium and take the second microphone, looking out to the sea of faces, some afraid, some angry, some challenging, but all wanted to hear what I had to say. I turn on the charm. I heard that this is a debate. Is it true that all of you have come from all across Equestria to let your voices be heard? The crowd cheers. I turn to the heckler. Is it true that you're the one who organized this all? He nods and grins. I sure did, but I'm humble enough to recognize that I didn't do it all. I simply gathered everyone who wanted to speak up. Tell me, how did you get everyone here? Equestria's finest teleporters, hundreds of them. I'll teleporting these fine folks here in a blink of an eye. And you all arrived here only last night? That's impressive. The heckler chuckles. Can't believe I'm saying this, but thank you. Though, tell me, did you tell anyone else about these guardians of tradition? The heckler shakes his head. Can't let anyone try to sabotage our efforts, especially not before we come to this debate. And when did you recognize it? I don't recall seeing any announcements in the paper. I'm not surprised, we had it all set up shortly after we arrived. Perfect, without recognizing it, the heckler walked right into my trap. Tell me then, if this is a debate, then where's all those who support Metacomp? Where's their crowds? Where's their banners? Their representatives who would come up here and debate with you. Because the cowards, I didn't want to be publicly humiliated. The heckler laughs, as does the crowd. Or is it because you didn't give me a chance to organize? I said, having put two and two together. You gather everyone up in secret and announce the day before this debate. You don't even announce your intention until you show up, so that they don't have time to organize. That sounds rather suspicious. The heckler's smile fades, the crowd seems to fidget slightly. If your position is so strong, why not announce the debate earlier and give everyone time to come out? And don't pretend they're not out there. I saw them with my own eyes when I was touring the country. Their letters were printed in the newspapers, they appeared in photos. And they were even in Satalanco when you and I last met. I turned to the crowd before the heckler can answer. I don't see debate here. I see a fanatic trying to silence his opposition. I see a crowd willing to believe whatever they've been told. And just what have you been told? That I'm a monster on the prowl, looking for those I may devour? That I'm dangerous and deranged? Let me ask you this, what purpose would I gain by attacking anyone? I use my magic to float the microphone before me as I walk across the stage. I would gain nothing but enemies. The heckler breaks his silence. Because you're the greatest threat our land has ever seen, that's why. And how do you know that? We've all read the report, we've all know what you've done. You tried to get an innocent child, you tried to kill an old pony. And you blindly believe what the papers tell you? I shot back. Have you ever thought that might have been a misinterpretation? Did the mother tell the paper about the balloon I was trying to return to her child? Or that I thought the old mare wanted to cross the streets? Did anyone outside the food shelter notice I was trying to cast a healing spell on a pony who had a heart attack? The crowd murmurs to themselves. Alright, in the name of fair play, let's assume you're trying to help. I'll grant you that. If that's true, then what are you going to do with these powers of yours? Go around saving balloons for little children, helping mothers cross the streets? Any of us can do that. I smiled. Good point, but I want to show the world what can happen when you dream. I turned to the crowd. Only a few months ago, none of you would have paid me any attention. I'd be beneath your notice, someone you'd glance at in the streets. They've forgotten the moment we passed each other. And yet, look where I am now. I've gone from a nobody to being someone who matters. I've become more than what I was. If I can do that, then what's to stop other opponents from doing the same? If we can give everyone a chance to become more, perhaps that's true. But tell me, what's stopping you and everyone else from abusing that power? Excuse me? Who's gonna protect us if you ever decide you didn't want to go around doing good, and that you, and you alone, know what's best? Who's gonna protect us when you try to overthrow the princesses? What's to stop you from doing that? The princesses, I suppose. I said. A few ponies laughed, quickly going silent. But when have I ever wanted to take over? When did I ever say about leading a revolution? Oh, you haven't, but for someone who's supposed to be so intelligent and smart, you're awfully ignorant about history. The next would-be ruler always pretends to be on the side of the common pony, wanting to make their lives better, spreading the word across the country, installing their propaganda in the minds of the innocent ponies. But they're always trying to gain the power for themselves, no matter the cost. And when the time is right, they rise up and attack. I smile. Prove it. The heckler smiles back. I don't have to. Any good, honest pony with half a brain can see what you're up to. I can't prove to you that I don't want to become king. But then again, no matter what I say, you'll just ignore it or brush it aside. After all, isn't that what your kind always does? My kind want to preserve the way of life for our children, and for the children's children. Thekler says, taking a step towards me. Unlike you, we live in the real world. We know what dangers are out there, and what can happen if we sit back and do nothing. So that's why we're here. We're working to stop tyrants from rising. If someone comes along, trying to change everything for their own benefit, then we'll strike back, but it's still weak. So you're saying we should never give anyone any power because the possibility rises that they can become a threat? They'll abuse it, they always do. So for fear of a tyrant popping up anywhere at any time, you want to prevent anyone from getting any power of any kind? That's, my friend, is the definition of paranoia. The heckler growls. No, I had enough and turned to the crowd. Mares and genitals, this is the reason why you have so much fear about me? Uneducated, simple-minded fools who fear change and hate those that try to bring it. It is ponies like him who keep equestrian the past. If he had his way, technology, science, and everything that would improve our life would be evil. He'd have us abandon it all, despite the benefits of our daily lives. That's a lie! The heckler shouts. Is it? There are thousands like you all over Equestria. Where I look to the future, constantly trying to improve life for everyone. Ponies like you throw hissy fits about how things ought to be. You hide under the security blanket of pride and tradition, hissing at anything that comes too close. We stand for what works. The heckler shouts back. If the technology you love so much improves our lives, fine then, we'll have it. But if it threatens our children and everything we work so hard to build, then yes, we will scream and fight back. But despite all of his yells and boasts, the heckler didn't scare me. After all, who is he but some backwater hick? It isn't him I need to convince, it's the public before me. How many of you out there ever dreamed of something greater than yourself? How many of you dreamed of soaring into the sky when the earth demands you stay upon the ground? And how many of you dream of performing magic when nature says you never will? We're on the verge of making those dreams come true. We can let every one of you fly and cast magic. We can finally overcome the limitations that nature itself set upon us. The future is open for all of us. We just have to reach out and take it. I paused and lowered my voice. Or you can take the alternate path. I point to the heckler. You become paranoid like him and work to convince everyone else that anyone wanting to follow their dreams is a tyrant in the making. You can work to poison their minds and make them think like you. You can work in the shadows and make sure no one else's dream comes true. The heckler drops his mic and leaps at me, screaming in anger. Without even thinking, I spin and fire off a stunning blast, knocking him off the stage where he smashed into the ground. The crowd gasps. Did you see that? The heckler screams, trying to get back to his hooves, failing miserably. Did you see that? He attacked me. He tried to kill me. Au contraire, buddy. You attacked me. I'm sure the cameras will prove that to be the case. I turned to the crowd, positively beaming. Mares and genitals, would he have been reacting that way if I was lying? Surely a pony with nothing to hide would become so enraged by mere words. Perhaps this proves that the ponies like him are the dangerous ones. They will do anything and everything to do what they want, including lying and attacking those who would try to stop them.
Are you speaking about him, Mr. Silverspeak, or yourself?
I stopped. That voice. It wasn't the heckler. An older pony emerges from the crowd and heads towards the stage. Who is this? The mayor tried to help with the crosswalk? It's hard to see her among the others, but as she gets onto the stage, I get a look at her face, and... oh no, I can't make myself move as the librarian comes up and snatches the microphone from me. "Shame on you," she says. "Shame on you for lying to these ponies." "What do you mean?" I ask, trying to keep up a brave face. The librarian ignores me and turns towards the crowd. "Mayors and Gentilcults, Mr. Silverspeak isn't being as truthful and honest as he portrays himself. I am the chief librarian of the Manhattan Library, and I'm sure you all remember the first time it was broken into. The police were never able to catch the culprit, but I have proof that it was Silverspeak, and that he attempted to steal some of our most dangerous manuscripts." The crowd gasps. I shake, sweating as the librarian's horn glows, and a screen appears in the air. Upon it is a still image of an air vent with a light blue glow, and I recognized it. This is the air vent above the library's forbidden section. I know what's coming, but it doesn't help when I appear on the screen, sneaking through the vent and then dipping down. I had placed the magical field within the air vent as a precaution against anyone trying to sneak into the forbidden section. A field that had the power to see through disguises or charms. Thus, it recorded Silverspeak breaking in. The crowd was silent, as was everyone else on stage as the video plays again. The librarian sighs. "I suppose that, in the eyes of the law, I am guilty for not turning in this evidence sooner. But I remain silent because Silverspeak didn't kill or injure anyone during his attempt, and seems to be working on improving himself for the better. But in light of his actions, it became clear to me that all he cares about is getting what he wants, no matter the cost." I feel the weight of thousands of eyes staring at me. To the other side of the stage, two ponies emerged and came forward. I didn't know who they are, but as they emerged from the shadows, I took a step back. It was my parents, looking more ashamed than I'd ever seen them. My father takes the librarian's microphone and brings it over. "None of you know me," he says quietly, "but I'm Silverspeak's father." There was an audible gasp from many in the crowd. "I originally came out here with my wife to assist my son in turning himself in to the police after telling me over the phone that he was indeed the one who broke into the library. But we were too late. Now we were only here to bring this to an end before any more harm is done." My mother holds up a small device of some kind. "I was spoken to by Medicom's head of security, who informed me that a few days ago my son transformed himself, and he had a conversation with the Beatbreaker, having suspected that he would try something. The head of security put this recording device into the department my son shared with the Beatbreaker, and taped this conversation." I could do nothing as Dad holds the microphone to the device and presses play. If I was to rush or attack, that would prove I had something to hide. I could only stand there and feel my stomach drop as I hear myself yell at Beatbreaker about how she had ruined everything. My own voice betrays me as I say how I manipulated everything at Medicom for my own benefit. From the way the CEO looks at the device, it's the first time I ever heard the recording as well. At last, the recording stops. My mother is too stunned to even cry. My father, he has the grim face of someone doing an act incredibly painful, but believes it must be done. In action to that, my son wants to acquire his horn by any means possible. While staying with us, his home, My father pauses, tries to gather himself. "He resorts to drugging us, Beatbreaker, and his guards in order to acquire the horn without being denied." The crowd was utterly silent. I stared at my father, scarcely able to believe he had just did that. Or that my own mother is here, silently lending her support. I take a step back towards the crowd, completely at a loss what to say. As I see their stunned faces, I know I've lost. Nothing I could say could win them back in my favor. The heckler is all too happy to take the initiative, storming towards me before yanking the microphone to his side. I think I speak for all the good pawns of Question when I say, what kind of sick monster poisons his own family? I can't answer him. He spins to the audience. You heard them with your own ears. Look at what Silverspeak is. It wants to run to commit theft, manipulate the entire company, and poisons those he loves to get what he wants. Is he the type of pony we want to listen to? Is he the kind of pony we should trust? No. He glares at me. He's just trash. I back away. No longer the crowd looks at me with shocked curiosity or even fear, but now of disgust and contempt. Someone boos, then another. A vegetable is thrown at me and hits the curtain. I sense movement on the opposite end of the stage, spotting the guards moving towards me. Cops are making their way towards the stage as well. I have to leave now. I can't get to the princesses if I'm behind bars. I crouch to take off, only for a magical field to envelop me, stopping me in place. Furious, I spin to see not Magus' guards or the cops who have stopped me, but my own parents. The horns freezing their only child in place for the authorities to take away. So, I'm the black sheep of the family now, am I? I growled. Then so be it. With lightning-fast speed, I fired a stunning blast at my parents. Concentrated as they are, they have no time to react as their son attacks them, freeing me from their spell. And then all of Tartarus breaks loose. The guards rush me, firing spell after spell, as do the police. The crowd screams, breaking into a panic as I duck. Then fire off a large shockwave, knocking everyone back. The anger making it incredibly easy. The stage is smashed to bits, and the guards and police officers are knocked off their hooves, giving me enough time to take to the skies. But the police gave chase, Pegasus officers right on my hooves. Without magic, they're forced to rely on stun guns. But my constant dodging and weaving, making it hard for them to aim. Flipping to my back, I fire off spell after spell, forcing them to dodge. My practice inside the warehouse paying off. With some effort, I could fire off a carefully aimed blast at full power and stop them all for good, but I just wanted to get away. Very near at fools who haven't yet seen the light. Spinning back over, I accelerated, darting between buildings in an effort to lose the officers. But they're experienced veterans and are starting to close the gap, having their fair share of high-speed chases. Magic and speed alone isn't enough to buy me a victory here. Wait, maybe I didn't need either. The Manhattan Library, if I could reach it, I could declare immunity by going to see the princesses. I still didn't believe they were there, but it can buy me time to figure out my next move. Granted, getting out of the library again will be more difficult, as the police are likely to have every squad they can spare surrounding the place, including plenty of magic users. But with the police closing in behind me is the only shot I got. Spinning, I darted back around, heading towards the center of Manhattan. And it wasn't long before more officers pulled up beside me, closing ranks as they started to get closer. But I spelled the library as spotlights have been brought to light up the building like a candle. But as I swoop low, I hear shots from below. Members of the Guardians having spilled out into the streets, and were yelling out my position, setting it so the fellows ahead knew I was coming. With a final burst of speed, I made my last turn and head towards the front gates, which are surrounded by hundreds of police vehicles and hundreds of officers ready to move in or protect someone inside. I fly down and came to a stop before the entrance. I'm still in the open, able to fly away should anything happen. I am Silverspeak. I call out to the officers facing me. I've heard the message from the princess, and I have come unarmed and in peace. I only wish to speak with them, and have no desire to start a fight. The officers behind me come down, but came to a stop as the highest-ranking officer present holds up a hoof, indicating for them to stop. They complied, though a quick glance at their faces showed they would love nothing more than to take me in. But a publicly announced deal is a deal, and one they can't back down on, or at least, not until they believe I'm in their clutches. Spreading my wings, I do a full circle so that everyone present can see I'm not hiding anything, and once that's done, I head up the steps. The nearby officers turn to watch the unicorns in their ranks ready to fire their horns, but they made no move to stop me. I enter the building and the doors close behind me. It's dark inside, only with bare minimum lights to guide my way. I remain where I am for a few moments, listening for movements. trying to sense if there's anyone in the shadows. But there's nothing, and I make my way onwards, keeping my steps as light and quiet as possible. No one emerges to challenge me as I make my way into the heart of the building. Windows flash from lightning, rain streaking down the glass. And all the while I think, trying to figure a way out of here. The air vents are an obvious choice, but most certainly officers are waiting on the roof. And there are bound to be more outside the windows and exits. But why are there apparently no officers here? Surely, if they're gonna come after me, they would have done so by now. I'm far enough inside that... wait, maybe I should head back. Or at least stop going in deeper. I stop to think. Either they're trying to lull me into a false sense of security before pouncing, or there actually are no officers in here. But if that's the case, the only reason would be that the princesses were actually here. But no, that couldn't be. That would mean that the drunk was right, but then again, I did overhear some officers' radios saying that they were coming. And if it was referring to the princesses, well, that would explain all the cops around the building. And now that I think about it, with all the chaos and controversy surrounding Metacomp, it's not far-fetched to think that Pony Society is being changed so radically. The rulers of Equestria would have eventually intervened one way or the other. At last, I reached the double doors of the main lobby. There are no real guards here, or at least, none I could see. Surely, there'd be some here, the princesses were inside. Looking at the door, I try to sense if there's anything on the other side, but it came up blank. It's decision time. Should I go inside and take my chances? Or do I try to escape? If I get a fast enough start, I can shoot out the windows and take off, hopefully being able to evade the police within the storm. Logic dictates I should head to Counterlots. The princesses are bound to be up there eventually, but by leaving, I gave the equestrian media a chance to spread the news of what has happened tonight, and further turn Equestria against me. If the princess is already inside, I can stop that. There's a chance too great to pass up. Taking a deep breath, I pushed the doors open and walked inside. The main lobby is dark, with even less light turned on than in the hallways behind me, casting deep shadows with plenty of places to hide. I stop, look around, trying to see where anyone is. Hello? There's no answer as I walk forward, every sense on high alert. This is where I need to be at my most cautious, for anything can happen. Hello, is there anyone? I froze. There were two forms on the far end of the room, silent and still, just barely visible in the shadows. They didn't move, but there are the unmistakable outlines of long horns, massive wings, and giant, flowing manes. It's them! Oh, sweet Celestia, it's actually them! I instinctively kneel, so shocked it takes a minute to find my voice. Your Highness, thank you for this opportunity to speak with you, and to discuss what has been happening here. The princesses remain silent. I know you're very busy, so I'll keep this brief, but I wish to discuss everything I've done. Especially the wings and horns. No doubt you want to discuss them as well, I hope. But the princesses didn't speak. Are they intentionally doing so, trying to make me uncomfortable? But that doesn't seem to fit in what they would do, unless they were angry. I gulp. Please, Your Highness, if you're angry with me, say so. I will understand. But the door remains silent, and I swear I could feel their gazes falling upon me. A dark and terrible feeling. I sweat. What exactly am I supposed to do here? Beg and grovel? Try to explain everything before they talk? If you don't mind. I say, backing towards the wall, trying to remember where the light switches are. I would like to turn on the light so it's not so dark in here. Reaching the wall, I feel around, touch the switches, and flick them. The room lights up, and I see the Oh, Buck. The princesses aren't before me. Before me is a constructed setup, constructed out of papier-mâché, cardboard, and drapes. All set to perfectly resemble the outline of the royal sisters when viewed in the dark. There's movement behind me, and an all too familiar voice. Sucker. Magus' voice echoes in my ears as something hits me in the back, and everything goes dark.